Before we dive into the guide, you can find the forum version over at ClassicWoW.LIVE. At the beginning of the forum post, I've got a cheat sheet that displays the abilities and loot table of every single mob and boss in the dungeon in chronological order. This is going to be your best friend this summer when you want to participate in the new 3-man dungeon meta I want to create for Classic WoW. As a quick disclaimer, a lot of the information in this guide is either missing or acting as a placeholder to date until we get official data on each of these dungeons. This guide will continuously be updated and improved, so make sure to bookmark the URL in the description and come back after Classic releases for the complete version. The suggested level for completing Shadowfang Keep is level 20 to 26, and the instance has 3 quests available. 2 neutral quests that can be picked up at the Sepulchre just north of the dungeon, and 1 horde quest which can be found in the Undercity. The first quest, Deathstalkers in Shadowfang, requires you to locate Deathstalker Vincent, who can be seen executed by Archmage Ariugel in the courtyard as soon as you walk in. You simply turn the quest in here. The second quest, Ariugel Must Die, is picked up at the Sepulchre as well, and requires you to venture into the end of Shadowfang Keep and kill the last boss, Archmage Ariugel. Upon completion, you're going to receive a powerful ring for your level. The third and final quest for Shadowfang Keep, the Book of Ur, is horde only and can be received from Keeper Bel Dugur in the Undercity. You need to retrieve a book from SFK, which is found in the third to last boss room next to Fenris the Devourer. Return to the Undercity to turn this quest in. The great thing about the quests in Shadowfang Keep is that none of them have prerequisites, so they're easily obtainable, and additionally party members can be shared all the quests of the dungeon without any preparation. Now let's take a quick look at all the loot that's available to you during a Shadowfang Keep run. This will help you determine whether or not it's worth your time to complete this dungeon for your class as you're leveling up. Typically, cloth classes don't prefer doing an SFK run because of the lack of loot that's available for them. Melee classes have a chance to get a ring with 7 strength and 3 stamina, and there's multiple chances to obtain 1- and 2-handed weapons spread across all the boss's loot tables. Combine this with the fact that the quest rewards guarantee a ring with 8 stamina and 3 strength, melee classes normally always walk away with a few pieces of gear. Mages, warlocks, and priests can receive big item upgrades though if they're lucky enough for the Feline Mantle or Robes or Belt of Ariugel to drop off the last 2 bosses in the instance. Additionally, Shadowfang Keep has a few items hidden in its loot tables. Here's a list of rare loot that can be had in this dungeon. Assassin's Blade and Shadowfang both drop from a select few mobs in the dungeon at less than a 0.1% rate, so don't get your hopes up. These are the best 2 19 twink weapons for rogues and should either be sold for tons of gold or used for that purpose if you're fortunate enough to stumble upon one of these weapons. There is a well-known secret about the loot table of the fell steeds found in the courtyard. There are 3 passive horses which can be found in a stable near the beginning of the dungeon which have a chance to drop a 10-slot bag and an even less of a chance to drop an aesthetically pleasing offhand item, an eerie stable lantern. So make sure you don't skip over these horses. Lastly, there's a unique boss named Sever who can be found in the Shadowfang Keep during the Scourge invasion. That happened in patch 1.11. So this event's going to occur during the opening of Naxxramas in Phase 6 for Classic WoW, and Sever and his loot will only be available for a few weeks during that time. This last section of the guide will highlight each mob one by one and give you a closer look at their health, armor, and DPS values, as well as a clear look at their abilities and their loot table. Keep in mind, these stats will be updated once we have official servers, and the drop rates for each item are based off of private servers and are only acting as a placeholder in this video. First, let's look at the mobs which occupy the Shadowfang Keep. Note that the level range of the mobs in this dungeon begin at levels 18 to 19 and end near levels 23 to 25. Bleak Warg has an ability called Wavering Will, which slows down its target's melee, casting, and movement speed. Shadowfang White Scalps have Frost Armor, which is identical to the rank 2 mage spell. Slavering Wargs can be found in the courtyards and don't have any special abilities. Shadowfang Moonwalkers are in the courtyard as well, and they cast a 2-second anti-magic shield spell, which should be interrupted because it grants immunity for up to 10 seconds. Haunted Servitors have a 2-second cast time on a curse that lasts on party members for 5 minutes, and this spell can lead to your group's demise if a few members have this curse on them because an extra elite mob will begin attacking your group randomly at any time. So consider bringing a class that can remove these curses, such as a mage who learns remove curse at level 18 or a druid who can remove curses at level 24. There are 3 Fell Steeds in each SFK run, and they have an instant Fell Stomp ability, which inflicts 20 damage to all nearby enemies, as well as stunning them for 3 seconds and enraging themselves. Don't underestimate these passive mobs. Shadowfang Wolf Guards have a normal Worgen pet that aids them in battle, as well as the ability to heal them with a 2-second cast. Shadowfang Gluttons cast an instant blood tap ability which drains its target for 20 health and restores itself for twice that amount. Shadowfang Dark Souls can be found walking the halls after boss Baron Silverlane, and they have two different abilities. Befuddlement is an instant cast which normally hits the healer in the group and slows their casting speed by 50% for 15 seconds. Watch out. They also have the rank 3 equivalent to Priest's ability Shadow Word Pain. Wailing Guardsmen will be encountered in the same pull as the boss Commander Springvale, and they have an instant cast AoE ability which silences all nearby enemies for 5 seconds. Vile Bats have two instant abilities, Disarm which takes away its target's weapon for 6 seconds, and a devastating AoE attack Diving Sweep which inflicts normal damage plus 30 to up to 3 targets. Bloodseekers can be found near or in the same pool as the Vile Bats, and they cast Expose Weakness which increases the physical damage taken by 5 for 5 seconds. Tormented Officers have a really unique ability which I remember encountering back in the day because of its particular effect. It's a 2.5 second cast which puts a 5-minute curse on its target, which periodically reduces one of their skills by 100. It seems like it would reduce the weapon skill that you currently had equipped, but it may be random and reduce the defense skills as well. Either way, this is an ability that normally leaves a lasting impression on the group. Shadowfang Rage Tooths are found near the end of the instance and are higher level than the rest of the mobs in the instance and have a Wild Rage ability which just increases their haste and attack power for a limited period of time. Sons of Ariogul are the most powerful Worgen you encounter in Shadowfang, and they have a 2.5 second cast, Ariogul's Gift, which inflicts a nasty damage over time on its enemy every 60 seconds for 5 minutes. Lastly, on our elite mobs list, we have the Lupine Horror, which are found in the same room as the Shadowfang Rage Tooths and Sons of Ariogul, and they have a 1 second cast, Summon Lupine Delusions, which summons 2 more enemies next to his side. Make sure to either kill this mob first or interrupt his cast. Now let's take a look at the 9 total bosses in Shadowfang Keep. Rethelgor is the first boss you'll encounter, and he has a Drain Soul ability which immobilizes his target for 10 seconds and drains 35 health. This is a 2 second cast, so it can be interrupted. And some of these abilities, they may seem insignificant, and honestly they are in a traditional 5-man group, but if you were to run through this dungeon in a 3-man group, which was scaled to a certain difficulty, all of a sudden these abilities on each mob become relevant and must be taken into account. This boss is also famous for dropping his leather rugged spalders, which are a lot of characters' first pair of shoulder pads in the World of Warcraft. Ooh. Can't wait to go back. Moving on to Razorclaw the Butcher. He has an ability similar to Rethelgor's Drained Soul, and these boss encounters will be refined and rewritten once Classic comes out and we get to test them and play through them. He's the second boss in the dungeon, and he has the possibility of dropping a very nice blue one-handed axe. Baron Silverlane casts Veil of Shadow in 1.5 seconds, which reduces the healing effects of the target by 75% for 15 seconds. Again, in a 3-man group, this ability is scary. He also drops a one-handed mace, as well as a desirable blue ring, which is a huge upgrade for any level 21 melee class to equip. Commander Springvale is a fallen paladin who can cast both Hammer of Justice and Holy Light. He drops a green 2-handed axe and a blue shield. Odo the Blind Watcher is a powerful boss who goes into an enraged form where his melee speed and attack power are increased immensely. He drops a green leather belt and an extremely useful 2-handed staff for level 21 which has 21.7 damage per second. Deathsworn Captain is a rare spawn who can be found walking outside between Odo the Blind Watcher and Fenris the Devourer. He seems to be a fallen warrior who has both cleave and hamstring abilities. His loot's pretty unique as well, and it's a great addition for any warrior's run, whether he drops his phantom armor or 2-handed greensword Haunting Blade. Fenris the Devourer has a unique ability, Toxic Saliva, which inflicts 17 damage every 6 seconds, as well as draining 20 mana and transferring it to himself for 2 minutes. He drops a green cloak and some nice leather bracers with plus 5 stamina. Wolfmaster Nandos is the second to last boss who has the ability to summon wargs and horrors if his casts aren't interrupted. Feline Mantle are amazing shoulders for level 23 Clothies and will make the run well worth it if they're lucky enough for this item to drop and they win the roll. The final boss, Archmage Ariogul, is one of the most interactive and difficult bosses to kill at this level because of his random, wide range of abilities as well as being level 26. He'll periodically teleport from one platform in the boss room to another, making it difficult for melee classes to follow and be active during the entire fight. He also casts Thundershock at the same time as his teleport, which damages all nearby enemies and stuns them for 5 seconds. Then he's in a ranged position against everyone and begins casting detrimental Void Bolts for nearly 300 damage a hit. If that wasn't difficult enough, he has one final ability, Arielgul's Curse, which is an instant cast and basically mind controls one of your party members and forces them to attack you in a mutant form. This truly is an epic encounter for a final boss, and his loot is a reminder of your valiant efforts inside the Shadowfang Keep. Our bonus boss is Sever, who will be spawned in Phase 6 of Classic WoW during the Scourge invasion, and he'll be in a wing or hallway that can be, and normally is, skipped over by most groups completing Shadowfang Keep. He's got some powerful abilities and drops what seems to be some pretty overpowered loot at this level. It looks like this was implemented in Classic WoW as almost a catch-up mechanic, or just buffed items for low-level characters in order to speed up that long 1 to 60 grind just a little bit near the end of Vanilla WoW. Thanks for tuning in to my dungeon guide for Shadowfang Keep, and make sure to check back in this summer on ClassicWoW.LIVE, where you'll find the complete and updated version during Classic WoW. See you in the next dungeon guide. Peace.